A ring of fire is forming in the sky on February 17th, and Melissa Carter says the cosmos isn't staying silent about it. This isn't just an astronomical event to photograph and forget. Something is being transmitted through this eclipse that bypasses the mind entirely and speaks directly to the soul. Ancient, urgent, and deeply personal. What exactly is coming through, and why does it matter so much right now? Let's open this together and find out what the universe is saying. What makes this eclipse extraordinarily different? Not all eclipses carry the same weight. Astronomers will tell you they're all essentially the same mechanical event, the moon blocking the sun's light, creating a shadow on Earth. But anyone who's ever stood beneath a total or annular eclipse knows something happens that instruments don't capture. The air changes, animals go silent, time seems to bend. There's a quality to the silence during an eclipse that feels ancient, almost sacred, as if the normal rules of reality briefly suspend themselves and something else becomes accessible. Melissa Carter describes it as the universe lowering its voice so we're forced to strain to hear it. And what we hear in that straining, that's the message. This February 17th eclipse carries that quality at an extraordinary level. What separates this eclipse from recent ones is its precise location in the zodiac. It falls in Aquarius, the sign governing collective consciousness, technology, rebellion, and the evolution of humanity as a whole. When an eclipse lands in Aquarius, the themes it activates aren't personal, they're civilizational. They point towards shifts in how we organize ourselves, how we communicate, how we define freedom, how we relate to authority and systems. And in 2026, with everything already in motion, the economic uncertainty, the technological acceleration, the social fracturing and restructuring, an Aquarius eclipse acts like a lens. It focuses all of that scattered energy into a single concentrated point, a moment of collective reckoning. And what gets illuminated in that focused light changes everything. There's also something significant about an annular eclipse specifically. Unlike a total eclipse where the moon completely covers the sun, in an annular eclipse, the moon is at its farthest point from Earth. So it covers the center, but leaves a ring of solar fire burning around the edges. Symbolically, this is profound. The center, the known, the obvious, the comfortable, the familiar, goes dark, but the edges remain blazing. And in that darkness at the center, what was invisible becomes visible. What was background becomes foreground. The things you've been centering your life around, they step back. And what you've been ignoring at the periphery, that comes blazing into focus. This is the invitation of the annular eclipse. Look at your edges. Look at what you've been dismissing, because that's where the truth is hiding. Melissa Carter's transmissions before February 17th. Melissa Carter has been receiving what she describes as pre-eclipse transmissions for several months now. Impressions, images, and direct communications that began arriving with unusual intensity as this date approached. She's careful to distinguish these from ordinary intuition. They have a different quality, more urgent, more layered, like receiving a signal from a broadcast tower rather than picking up scattered static. And the content of these transmissions has surprised even her. Not doom, not catastrophe, but a kind of cosmic curriculum, as if the other side is using this eclipse as a teaching moment. As if the alignment of astronomical forces creates a window through which specific information can be delivered with unusual clarity and potency. What she's receiving falls into distinct categories. Some of it is collective, addressing the state of humanity and the direction we're collectively moving. And some of it is surprisingly intimate, concerning the internal state of individuals who are paying attention. She describes one transmission as feeling like someone gently but firmly turning your face towards something you've been studiously avoiding. There's no judgment in the turning, no condemnation in what you're shown, just a clear, loving insistence that you look, that you see what's actually there, rather than the comfortable version you've been maintaining. And the people who are most affected by this pre-eclipse energy, they're already feeling it. Strange dreams, unexpected emotional surges, a sense of anticipation they can't explain. These aren't coincidences. The eclipse is already working. One specific transmission that Melissa keeps returning to, because it arrived multiple times with unusual force, is the image of a door that's been painted shut. Not locked, not barricaded, just painted over so many times that people forgot it was a door at all. And the eclipse, she says, is the moment when someone scrapes away the paint and shows you what's underneath. The question isn't whether the door is there. It's always been there. The question is whether you'll open it once you can see it clearly. And that question, the choice between opening and retreating, between confronting and continuing to pretend, that's at the heart of everything this eclipse is asking of humanity right now. The Ring of Fire's hidden spiritual meaning. The image of a ring of fire in the sky isn't just visually spectacular. It carries a symbolic resonance that runs through virtually every spiritual tradition on Earth. Fire represents purification, transformation, and truth. The ring, the circle, represents completion, wholeness, eternity. And the sun at its center represents consciousness, identity, the very source of what sustains life. So, when you see a ring of fire around the darkened sun, you're witnessing a cosmic symbol of tremendous depth. The self going dark while surrounded by the eternal flame of truth. The ego temporarily eclipsed while higher consciousness blazes around its edges. It's as if the sky itself is performing a ritual, and we're all participants, whether we know it or not. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the Ring of Fire was associated with the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail, the symbol of cycles that have no beginning and no end. In Hindu tradition, the fire circle is Shiva's dance, the ring of flame within which the deity performs the destruction of illusion and the birth of new reality. In Native American traditions, eclipses were treated as moments when the veil between worlds thinned, when communication with ancestors and spirit guides became more accessible, more clear. These traditions weren't primitive superstitions. They were sophisticated observations of how astronomical events correlate with shifts in consciousness. Observations made over thousands of years of careful attention to the relationship between sky and soul. The hidden spiritual meaning of the Ring of Fire for February 17th specifically is what Melissa calls the Annular Awakening. The understanding that what we've placed at the center of our lives, our certainties, our assumptions, our identities, our fears, must periodically go dark so the fire at our edges can reveal itself. We spend so much time protecting the center, defending our known self, maintaining our comfortable narrative, keeping the status quo intact. And the Ring of Fire says, let the center rest for a moment. Let it go dark. Because the real you, the blazing, unlimited, eternally alive part of you that you've been keeping at the periphery, that's the fire that burns whether the center is lit or not. And this eclipse is asking you to recognize that fire, to claim it, to stop apologizing for it. But ancient symbolism is only part of what this eclipse is activating. Ahead in this video, we'll explore what civilizations across history actually did to prepare for moments like this. How Melissa Carter bridges hard data with psychic reception, and the 3 specific areas of life that are being permanently reset on February 17th. Don't move. What ancient civilizations knew about eclipses? Ancient civilizations didn't run from eclipses. They ran toward them. They built elaborate stone monuments aligned with astronomical events. They stationed their finest minds to observe and record every detail. They created rituals that synchronized human consciousness with celestial mechanics. because they understood something we've largely forgotten: that the universe isn't a backdrop for human life, it's a participant in it. And during eclipses, that participation becomes undeniable. The Mayans tracked eclipse cycles with mathematical precision that modern astronomers still find astonishing. They could predict eclipses centuries in advance using nothing but careful observation and deep pattern recognition. And they used that knowledge not for spectacle, but for preparation. The Babylonians had a practice called substitute king ritual during eclipses. They believed the eclipse signaled a period of vulnerability for the ruling power, a window when change was cosmically inevitable. So a substitute king was temporarily installed, the real king went into hiding, and the community prepared for transition. It sounds strange to modern ears, but the underlying wisdom is sound. Eclipses do create vulnerability in established power structures. They expose weaknesses. They accelerate the inevitable fall of what was already rotting. The Babylonians weren't being superstitious, they were being pragmatic. They'd observed enough eclipse cycles to know that what comes after is often fundamentally different from what came before, and they prepared accordingly. Chinese astronomers in the Han Dynasty had an entire government department devoted to eclipse prediction because they understood that eclipses preceded periods of social and political transformation. They weren't causing the transformation, but they were signaling it, amplifying energies that were already in motion, accelerating timelines that were already set. And their response wasn't fear, it was preparation. They used the eclipse period as a time of reflection, of decision, of consciously choosing what values and structures to carry forward and which ones to allow to dissolve. That's the wisdom available to us now. Not dread, not avoidance, but conscious engagement with a transition that's happening whether we're aware of it or not. The ancients were aware, and their awareness made the difference between transformation that elevated and transformation that destroyed. Scientific data meeting psychic perception now. One of the most fascinating aspects of Melissa Carter's work is watching her navigate between two worlds that most people consider mutually exclusive: the world of empirical data and the world of psychic perception. She'll cite solar activity measurements in one breath and describe what she's receiving from non-physical intelligences in the next. And rather than these two perspectives contradicting each other, they consistently converge. The data points toward the same things the transmissions are indicating. The science and the spirit are telling the same story, just in different languages. And the February 17th eclipse is a perfect example of that convergence. From a purely scientific standpoint, this eclipse is occurring during a period of heightened solar activity. We're at or near the peak of solar cycle 25, which scientists have noted is tracking stronger than predicted. Solar activity doesn't just affect satellites and power grids. Research in bioelectromagnetics has demonstrated that solar and geomagnetic fluctuations affect human brain function, hormonal balance, and even behavior. Studies show increases in creative insight, emotional intensity, and what some researchers euphemistically call anomalous cognition during periods of high solar activity. So even from a purely materialist scientific perspective, something unusual is happening to human consciousness around February 17th. The eclipse isn't occurring in a vacuum. It's riding a wave of solar intensity that's already priming human neurology for change. Melissa approaches this convergence with what she calls binocular vision, using both eyes simultaneously rather than closing one. The scientific eye shows her the physical mechanisms. The psychic eye shows her the meaning behind the mechanisms. And neither perspective alone tells the whole story. The science without the spirit gives you data without direction. The spirit without the science gives you meaning without grounding. But together, they create a complete picture. a picture that says something significant is happening on February 17th on multiple levels simultaneously: physical, energetic, psychological, and spiritual. And the people who engage with this eclipse consciously, who use both eyes themselves, they'll receive the fullest experience of what's being offered. They'll get the data and the meaning, the mechanism and the message. Urgent messages humanity must hear today. Every eclipse carries a message. But urgent is a word Melissa uses carefully. She doesn't reach for it to create drama or attract attention. When she describes the transmissions around this eclipse as urgent, it's because of a specific quality she's encountering in the communications: a pressure, an insistence, a sense that what's being conveyed has a shelf life, that there's a window for it to land and be acted upon, and that window is narrowing. The urgency isn't about catastrophe, it's about timing, about the difference between making a change when it's still relatively graceful and waiting until circumstances force it in a way that's much less gentle. The message is urgent because the universe is offering a hand to help you climb, and if you wait too long, you'll be pushed instead. The first urgent message coming through is about authenticity in communication. Specifically, the conversations we've been refusing to have, the truths we've been packaging too carefully, softening too much, waiting for the perfect moment that never quite arrives. The eclipse in Aquarius, the sign of direct, sometimes shocking truth-telling, is asking us to stop curating our reality for others' comfort. The relationships in your life that are based on who you pretend to be rather than who you actually are, they can't sustain what's coming. The version of you that's been performing, accommodating, making yourself smaller to keep the peace, it's reached its expiration date, and the eclipse is the natural deadline. After February 17th, maintaining those performances will require more energy than you have to give. The second urgent message is collective. It concerns the direction humanity is drifting with technology. Not that technology is bad, but that we are allowing it to replace rather than enhance our essential humanness. Our capacity for genuine connection, for sitting with discomfort, for developing patience, for building deep understanding through sustained attention, these are being quietly eroded. And the eclipse is sending a clear signal: recalibrate. Not by rejecting technology, but by refusing to let it be your primary mode of experiencing reality. The message is simple but profound. The screen cannot show you what the eclipse can show you. The algorithm cannot guide you the way the cosmos can. Real eyes, real sky, real presence. That's the urgent invitation, and it's available to everyone, right now, today. 3 areas of life being permanently reset. The word permanently matters here. Not every eclipse creates lasting change. Some stir things up, create a temporary intensity, and then settle back into familiar patterns. But an annular eclipse in Aquarius during this particular moment in 2026 carries a different signature. What shifts on February 17th shifts permanently. Not because you're forced into irreversible circumstances, but because your perception changes. And changed perception is the most permanent kind of transformation there is. You literally cannot see things the same way you did before. And the 3 areas most affected, the 3 domains where this permanent reset lands most powerfully, touch the very foundations of how people experience their daily lives. The first area is identity. Specifically, the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. The eclipse illuminates the gap between the self you present to the world and the self that's actually living inside you. And that gap, for most people, it's larger than they've acknowledged. There's a version of you that's been waiting for permission to emerge, waiting until circumstances are right, waiting until others are ready, waiting until you feel ready. And the eclipse says the waiting is over. Not because everything is perfectly aligned, but because continued waiting is its own form of self-betrayal. The permanent reset in the area of identity is simply this: you stop being able to convince yourself that the waiting is wisdom. You see it for what it is, and seeing it clearly changes how you choose. The second area is relationships, specifically the architecture of your most significant connections. Who holds what power? What's spoken versus unspoken? What's been tolerated that shouldn't be? What's been neglected that matters enormously? Eclipses in Aquarius are particularly good at exposing relationship dynamics built on unspoken agreements that no one actually consented to consciously. You fell into patterns with people, and those patterns solidified into invisible rules. The eclipse breaks those rules into visibility. And the third area is purpose, the alignment between what you spend your days doing and what you actually believe your life is for. This isn't about career or productivity. It's about meaning. And the permanent reset here is a deepened inability to participate in meaninglessness. Once this eclipse passes, hollow activity becomes intolerable. And that intolerance, that's the gift. Who feels this eclipse most intensely? Not everyone will experience February 17th with the same intensity. And that's not about spiritual advancement or worthiness. It's about where the eclipse falls in relation to your personal energetic blueprint. Those born under Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio, the fixed signs, will feel this eclipse most directly. These are signs that tend to resist change, that build deeply and hold firmly to what they've constructed. And eclipses test that holding. They create pressure at the exact points where the grip is tightest. Not to destroy what's been built, but to check whether it's worth holding on to. Whether what you've been gripping so fiercely is actually serving you, or whether you've simply become attached to the act of holding, regardless of what you're holding. Beyond sun signs, people who are in the middle of major life transitions will feel this eclipse as an accelerant. If you're already in the process of ending something, a relationship, a career chapter, a phase of your identity, the eclipse will speed that process up, not always comfortably, but decisively. The ambiguity that's been making it possible to stay half in and half out, it dissolves. Suddenly, one direction is unmistakably clearer than the other. And while clarity can sometimes feel brutal, especially if it points toward the harder path, it's infinitely kinder than the slow torture of prolonged indecision. The eclipse gifts you with knowing, and knowing, however confronting, is always better than wondering. People who've been doing consistent inner work, who've been meditating, journaling, seeking therapy, engaging in honest self-examination, will experience this eclipse differently from those who've been running from themselves. For those who've been doing the work, the eclipse is like a graduation ceremony, a cosmic acknowledgement that the preparation is complete and the next chapter is beginning. For those who've been avoiding themselves, it's more like a mirror being held up with no warning. Both experiences are necessary. Both are ultimately in service of growth. The difference is just in how surprising the reflection is. And regardless of which camp you're in, the eclipse is offering something valuable. The only question is whether you're present enough to receive it. Preparing your energy before February 17th. Preparation for an eclipse isn't about performing rituals or following prescribed steps from a checklist. It's about creating the internal conditions that allow you to receive what the eclipse is offering. Think of it like preparing the soil before rain. You can't control when the rain comes. You can't manufacture it, but you can make sure the ground is ready to absorb it when it arrives. And if the ground is compacted, full of old debris, hardened by neglect, sealed off by the concrete of constant distraction, even the most abundant rain can't penetrate. So the work before February 17th isn't mystical, it's practical. It's about softening, creating space, removing the obstacles between you and what the eclipse is trying to deliver. One of the most powerful things you can do in the days leading up to the eclipse is to deliberately slow down. not as a spiritual practice, but as a human necessity. The pace at which most people live right now makes genuine reception impossible. There's no space between thoughts, no silence between inputs, no room for the deeper knowing to surface through the noise. And the eclipse, it requires space. It requires a kind of inner quiet that doesn't happen accidentally. It has to be chosen, deliberately, repeatedly, against the current of a culture that treats busyness as virtue. So before February 17th, create some silence. Not hours necessarily, even minutes, but real, committed, undistracted silence where you're not consuming content, not planning your next move, not processing other people's energy, just present with yourself. The other preparation that matters is honesty, specifically honest accounting of where you actually are versus where you've been saying you are. A quiet, private, written down honesty about what's working and what isn't. What you're holding on to out of love versus what you're holding on to out of fear. What you're genuinely committed to and what you're just too tired to change. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about creating a clear inventory so the eclipse has something precise to work with. The more honest your baseline, the more targeted the transformation. The eclipse meets you where you actually are, not where you wish you were or where you've been pretending to be. So give it something real to work with. Show up honestly, and let February 17th do what it's been designed to do. What opens after the eclipse passes through. Eclipses are often discussed in terms of what they take away, what gets exposed, dissolved, reset, or cleared. But that's only half the story, because every eclipse is also a planting event. Every clearing creates space for something new, and what opens in the weeks and months after February 17th, that's where the real gifts live. The disruption was never the point. The disruption was preparation. The point is what grows in the cleared ground. And based on the transmissions Melissa has been receiving, what's being planted through this eclipse is extraordinary. New connections are among the most significant post-eclipse gifts, and not casual connections. Deep ones, soul-level recognitions. People entering your life who see you clearly because you're finally showing up clearly. The relationships built on performance and pretense will have fallen away. And what fills the space is something more authentic. People who match the frequency of who you actually are, rather than who you were pretending to be. These connections don't always look the way you'd expect. They come from unexpected directions, unexpected demographics, unexpected circumstances. But they carry a quality of rightness that's unmistakable. You meet them and something in you relaxes, because for perhaps the first time, you don't have to explain yourself. You just have to show up. New opportunities also emerge in the post-eclipse period, but they're only visible to those whose eyes have been opened by the transit, because opportunities always exist. They're not created by the eclipse, they're just previously invisible, hidden behind the fog of old assumptions, old limitations, old stories about what's possible for you. And the eclipse burns away that fog, so suddenly, options you couldn't see before come into focus. Doors that were painted shut, as Melissa's transmission described, become visible as doors again. And you have the choice that every cleared, prepared, honestly examined person gets to make. To open the door, to walk through, to step into the next chapter, not because you've been forced out of the old one, but because you can finally see how magnificent the new one is. And February 17th is just the beginning of that seeing.